What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today I think it's time that we revisit our Menasor Menace. We've had some breaking news kind of in the last couple weeks, and that news comes with some other news and some correlation to changes regarding news and blah, 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 blah. So I feel like it's plenty to talk about here and also give an update on the stuff in the past, right? There was a lot of predictions in the past, a lot of talk in the past about what things meant, where they were going, what it was going to shake up to be like, and now we kind of have a lot of those answers. Some answers we're still hunting for, some answers we're still waiting to be released. However, for the most part, by and large, we have the answer to a lot of those questions. Couple housekeeping issues. First and foremost, all Unicron blanket orders have been fulfilled by me. If you haven't got a shipping notice through PayPal, and to be honest, the blanket should have arrived at your home by now, but if either of those things have not happened, please get in contact with me, for one. For two, I'd like to thank everybody that purchased one. And for three, I have some left over. So if you are interested in securing one, reach out to me at bobbyskullface@gmail.com while supplies last. I will not be offering this again via made to order. It'll only be available at shows, and I'm not doing that many shows anymore. So if you're interested, get in contact. First come, first serve. And contact me by emailing me at bobbyskullface@gmail.com. There are people that already were on a waiting list. I think I've reached out to all those people. Some I haven't heard from yet, but now all bets are off. First come, first serve via the email. Second, housekeeping. A lot of people said there's a way to secure the alligator head to the back of Skull Cruncher. That may very well be true. I don't know. Play with it when you get yours, so to speak. Also, I have to let you guys know that this past Friday, yesterday, I intended to have a Dummies episode go up, but because of Chomp, I pushed it back. So next week, there's going to be 2 discussion videos during the week and only 1 review. The Dummies episode is, in my opinion, the best Dummies conversation that we have ever had. So much so, in fact, that I've moved it ahead 2 slots and bumped 2 other Dummy episodes that I already have done back 2 slots. And I think that's it. I think we can begin. So let's talk about where we've been, right? The DX9 came out. It came out first. It finished first. And with the exception of the leg bots kind of latching on completely and fully and securely under duration, under stress, under manipulation, it was pretty much done well. The criticisms of the bot modes and truck modes and all of that still remain. The trailer's too long, the bots are too skinny. But when all was said and done, it's a good looking Menasor. Secure, stable. Thanks to Sean and his upgrade kit, I'm able to kind of have it look the way I want it to. For those that are interested, search my videos. Bravo. Nothing's perfect, right? But you take the good with the bad. Pretty well done set. Specifically and especially for the combiner. And then we had the X-Transbots set, which did a pretty decent job across the board with robot modes and vehicle modes. The only exception being the Wild Rider back window that kept breaking on people and the Motormaster torso that kept breaking on people. But by and large, robot mode, vehicle mode, pretty well done by X-Transbots. But then we had the combine mode, which didn't turn out to be as nice. In my opinion, the proportions are a bit wonky. Some people say they enjoy those because the proportions of the cartoon sometimes seem wonky, and that to me is a fair assessment. That comes down to subjective preference, and there's really no debating that. Tons of sculpted detail and such, and I think a lot about it does look good. However, the stability came into question, and I can't help but wonder if a big part of that stability question didn't inherit itself from the fact that they needed a base mode. There is something that Keith does, and I'm a fan of X-Transbots, but there is something that he does where he tries to throw everything at a toy. So oftentimes, if you get a figure, you get the G1 toy head, you get the cartoon head, you might get an IDW head, you'll get all sorts of accessories to include little logs and plates to eat on and all sorts of stuff. Like, he throws everything at the wall. And this is an example where I think that perhaps he would have benefited from not throwing anything at the wall and just making the trailer transform into a parts-forming body for Menasor. Because the stability issues there did leave a lot to be desired. However, we also have to take into account that, as we've talked about here in the previous Menasor Menace videos, it did go under some reconstruction in order to scale properly with the current trend and standard that has been established within the third-party world regarding third-party masterpiece combiners. The only company to which that's not really playing by those rules is MMC, who wants to do the all-in-one thing. They're kind of putting themselves in a different place, for better or worse. And lastly, there was FansToys, who everyone thought would be the clear and present winner, and may still very well be. But after 4 really strong releases to include figures that I think made the run for Best Figure of the Year, and perhaps Motormaster even won Figure of the Year for its ambitious attempt at the trailer being all-inclusive and the amount of stuff and work that they put into that thing and how impressive it is, both sculpt, paint, presence, build, materials-wise, most of the other Stunticons hold their own in the same regard. regard. And I'd like to say that all of them do, but I don't know that, do I? Because we still haven't got a dead end. And the reason for this is because he's supposed to come with all of the combiner pieces. And my guess is, and I don't even know how much of a guess it is anymore, that they're having some severe difficulty establishing the combiner success. There's a lot of weight on this thing. If you watch my breakdown video, which I believe was their first one, I'm on that critique early and consistently that while it feels good for the figure, I'm not sure how it was going to hold up for the combiner. And I have reason to believe, and if you're on the Patreon from some of the discussions that I've had with kind of professionals in the field, you also know that there is adequate reason to suspect that the combiner was unsuccessful and they are trying to figure out how to make it so. But years later, there's still no real word on it. Now I say that, and tomorrow, which is your Saturday, they'll announce it first thing in the morning before this video goes live, and all of you will be anxiously awaiting the comment section. But we're still no closer now than we were years ago. But we did get announcements of an Astra train and a Galvatron that I could give two about, and rumors circulating around about them moving forward with their Fort Max. Let me be clear. I don't care. I don't care. We need information at minimum. We are owed information, in my opinion, for the amount of money that most of us have invested in both of these combiners. And let me also say something, because I get a lot of people hitting me up, like, or I see comments written or whatever, Bobby's finally seen through the FansToys nonsense. Let me be very clear. I think FansToys is the best Transformer producing company, period. But you mean even better than yes? Yes. Well, certainly you couldn't mean even better than, no. Yeah, them too. Yes, them. I think they're better than them also. I am the original defender. But what I cannot defend, and what I won't defend, and what I haven't defended here for the past couple years, is some of their business practices. And I'm going to take a time to plug some of my own products here. I have recently created this shirt as an outlet for me to express my discontent. Available in hoodie as well on my Teespring. Link is below. Where you can buy yourself the What Happened to the Bandit shirt. And then on the back, no outlet for them and no dead end for us. Am I right? And what happened to the Bandits? Because Bandits is a double entendre here. Because I mean, you guys are smart. You get it. So I want an update there. That's where I am in regard to FansToys. I want some sort of announcement. You like? I feel like Stewie and Family Guy was like, you got money for fake mustaches. Like you got time to announce fake whatever this was, the Galvatrons. Well, I got an idea. Let's get a little bit of money by making out a stupid one. No, thank you. No thank you. It's time for an update. And it's time for a little bit of transparency. Even if that transparency is, look, we're still working it out, it's not right yet, just something. And I'd also be more than willing to accept buying the dead end on its own until they figure out the rest of it and then sell me the accessory pack later to build Menasor. I'm okay with that. And I think most of us that are collecting this line, for those that aren't, I'm not really interested. For most of us that are buying the FansToys Stunticons, I think that you would agree that you'd be happy to get the figure and then buy the accessory pack later, not unlike X-Transbots did twice. Now that brings us to our last player that we haven't talked about. Now, of course, there have been others, right? Fans Project Menasor was pretty solid for its time. The transformation of Motormaster was a complete disaster, but other than that, pretty solid for its time. And the Generation Toy or Transformation or whatever they were calling themselves at the moment, while it has a lot of functional issues, it is a very good-looking thing overall. And I still love the bots. I have them upstairs in my office, as a matter of fact. But let's digress. There's one company that was making a masterpiece-scaled Menasor that we never really paid a whole lot of attention to when we've been doing the Menasor Menace videos. And this is for a big reason that I'll circle back to after we kind of go through the timeline of their stuff. And I think it's worth addressing now because the game has changed regarding them. Now, this is a story that dates back to 2016, where they start to reveal concept designs for their drag strip and their Motormaster. Now, the Motormaster in particular has gone through a series of redesigns and reattempts and a number of redos. The very first one that I've seen, you can still find scattered on the internet here and there, is awful. Awful looking. But when Rising Force really started to get some traction behind them, the Motormasters that we got from there on out only improved. Drag strip looks good, but really didn't make an impact. Why? Because 3 established companies were already going through Stunticons, right? FansToys, DX9 and X-Transbots, none of those companies are slouches. So when a no-name company comes out, it's not going to have the same impact. Now, to circle back to Motormaster, we did see images of a squat Motormaster, like the trailer was like obnoxiously close to the cab and stuff, but sure, shortly after that, it seemed to get better. And then, to be fair, most of the reveals that we got from them ended up looking pretty good, both to include their Motormaster and drag strip, but we also got some art images of their Stunticons El Total. Now, to put this in perspective, we're moving from 2016 already to 2018 over this time period. But it seems like a lot of the information regarding them was kind of in the fourth quarter 2016, so take that for what you will. Another interesting thing that they promised with their Motormaster was that the transformation you could complete in 5 minutes. That an easy, intuitive, fun transformation was integral for them in terms of what they wanted to produce goal-wise, which I do find interesting, and I do think other companies could benefit from that approach. Not necessarily easy within 5 minutes, but like the Skull Cruncher, for instance, that harkened back to a time, and most of you pointed out, the older design, yes, I agree, that harkened back to a time where the transformations weren't impossible to pull off both modes. Now, it's easier to do an alligator, right? I get you. But in the same breath, it was easier, and it was more fun. And perhaps that is something missing from the Masterpiece game. Now, Rising Force, the guy behind it, has been pretty open on TFW, which I scoured for this information, and like, you guys don't post on there. Like, some of that stuff is just, it's mind-numbing. It's nice that there's an outlet for him to kind of speak, and I think the site does a fine enough job of producing the news and all that kind of stuff, but some of the stuff in there in the comment section, I was just like, good lord. Anyway, I digress. But he basically affirms a lot of people's suspicions that he's pretty much acting alone. It kind of reminds me of the Bold Forms folks, and that is very much a passion project, and he knows, he's aware of the competition with the other companies, but these are his favorite characters, and that's where he wants to kind of get in the game, which I think is respectable. So he says that the car bots are going to be 17 centimeters, which is about 7 inches. So good Masterpiece scale there, so to speak. And the combined mode was going to be about 45 centimeters, which is roughly, I think, about 18 inches, which kind of puts it closer perhaps into the pocket of the MMC all-in-one combiners than most of our kind of combiners today, but it's still in the ballpark. It's like I said before, it probably wouldn't look right, but some people like Menasor a little smaller, so you can kind of squint, tilt your head, whatever you got to do. Clearly Masterpiece scale either way, right? He also goes on to say that it won't have any parts forming. I think with the exception of the hands and feet. But that basically Motormaster was going to form the body of Menasor. Now, the next major update we get is in March of 2020, where he says that the Bud Ice virus is responsible for a lot of the delays regarding the prototype. And then in August of 2020, we get renders of Menasor, which I think look good enough, but they're very, very early, right? And it is kind of revealed that he's got 2 versions of Menasor coming, stylistically, due to swap out pieces, I would imagine, or whatever the case may be. And he also starts putting up some drag strip pre-orders in China. And that's the last real update that we received from him until he says in July of 2021 that he has scrapped the Masterpiece project for now, claiming that the OEM was unqualified to produce it. Now, for those that don't know, OEM means Original Equipment Manufacturer. And due to the lack of qualifications, he's unable to recoup the cost that he's already kind of dumped into this, because if you look at it, this drag strip got pretty far, and the Motormaster as well. It got beyond 3D prototype stage and into actual prototype stage. We never really got the test shot, but there was obviously investment put into this. In November 8th of 2021, he starts to roll out, so to speak, some of the prototypes of his Legends class, to include Dead End, initially. And in December 2021, we get our first look at the Menasor, which he says is 22 centimeters to the top of the head, which is about 8.5 inches, which in my mind, I don't have one handy, but in my mind would scale just perfectly with your Legends class stuff. And then April 1st, 2022, we get a full-blown 3D printed Legends combiner prototype of Menasor, as well as the Stunticon bots themselves. And I have to say, it looks pretty good. Looks posable as far as Menasor goes. He's got a little action stance in there, and the build looks solid. I think it's easier to do that in this scale, but nonetheless, it looks good. And then the robots, which I think all look pretty solid, pretty cohesive, and look like they're going to stand up just fine. Now, real quick, I will say, I think he could have made a killing had he dumped all of his resources into a Masterpiece scale Dead End, because I probably would have bought it at the very least as a fill-in. Anyway, that's what a company should do. A company should come out and call themselves Fill the Gap. Or what is that crazy glue? Zap-a-Gap. Zap-a-Gap. And just create random figures that fill holes that nobody else has done like Dead End, the 2 aerial bots, the 2 headmasters. Look, what am I doing giving you guys all the ideas? I'll save a few for myself, thank you. But I think it looks good, and I think it has a real strong chance of being successful. But that does bring us to an element of our conversation that we haven't really tackled, which is the Legends game of Menasor itself. The Magic Square one came out, and it's pretty solid. Shortly after that, I think timeline-wise, New Age announced their breakdown. We haven't really seen any more developments there that I can recall, but New Age makes a good product, and theirs looks good as well. So, I mean, that'll be 3 G1-inspired, legend-scaled Menasors to go along with your 2 3/4 masterpiece-scaled Menasors for G1 style as well. And I was just going to stay out of the Legends game of Stunticons altogether, even though I'm a Stunticon fan and kind of consider myself a Stunticon collector. And then John Garinger, you should check out his YouTube channel because he's a very thoughtful guy. But John Garinger sent me Dead End and Drag Strip, and now I feel like I might have to buy the rest of them too, just for the sake of doing it. You know, with friends like bloody these, you know what I mean? Shout out to John. And that's hopefully the end of Stunticons for some time. As a fan, they are my favorite characters, and as a fan of them, I think we're good. I think we've been good, but I think we're good. But not until we get that Dead End. And I'm starting that hashtag too. What happened to the bandits? It's a long one, so to speak. We're just gonna have to go with it. All right, so that's it. Pretty good discussion, right? I think it was worthwhile getting back to Menasor a bit because of all the kind of goings-ons regarding it, and kind of touch up on how it shaked out for the most part. So I'll be back on Monday with the best dummies discussion, in my opinion, we've had to date. Review on Wednesday, and another Nerd Rage Top 5 on Friday, and back right here for Sit Down Saturday the following week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.